So we are once again back in the ECW arena for the third episode of ECW CyberSlam. It opens again with a recap of what happened at the end of last week's show. During the main event, Tommy Dreamer and Homicide, everybody got involved, Low-Ki and Xavier, Dreamer and Sabu, but after that had all cleared, it appeared we would get a one-on-one fair match between the two. However, with Tommy Dreamer in control, looking to seal the deal, Sonny Siaki debuted and clubbed Tommy Dreamer from behind. He then hit Dreamer with a powerbomb through a table, allowing Homicide to pick up the win, despite being barely conscious. They stood tall to end the show, Sonny Siaki having swung the momentum firmly back in the favour of those members of the new breed. Out of that, we get a promo from Homicide, Low-Ki, Xavier and Sonny Siaki. They make their way down to the ring to open the show. Homicide calls the group the revolution that ECW needs and marks the ECW arena as being their territory from now on. This brings out Tommy Dreamer, Sandman, Sabu and Rob Van Dam, with Dreamer saying that they're not here to talk, and they head straight to the ring. A huge brawl breaks out, with Low-Ki, Homicide and Xavier regrouping on the outside of the ring. Sonny Siaki, the strongest of the four, continued to fight, but outnumbered by those originals, was eventually clotheslined to the outside by Tommy Dreamer. Siaki stayed on his feet as he hit the ground, and the four men stared down the originals. Now it's a 45D to open the show, not bad again. Continuing that main storyline, this is the pushing force of the entire show so far. Ideally, eventually, they'll all break off into their own storylines and we'll have a more varied thing, but this is definitely the main storyline at the minute. We wanted Paul Heyman to come out, but obviously you can only have 8 people in an angle, so I've just done that as a separate thing. Paul Heyman comes out with the 8 men still at ringside, Homicide vowing that the violence isn't over, they're going to get him back. Paul Heyman says that they need to stop, they need to keep their hands off each other, not because he's against the violence. The violence is exactly what ECW is about. His reason for wanting them to stop is because he wants them to save it for next week. He then announces a special episode of ECW CyberSlam next week, with every match pitting the self-named Revolution against members of that core group of ECW Originals. So a 49D plus. Again, these are going to help the overall rating because, as we've seen, the matches aren't really up to the level so far. But again, Dreamer, Heyman, the likes of Rob Van Dam cutting promos should be able to help us get a better overall at the end of the show. Breaking that up before we go into the first match, we see a promo from Brent Albrighton. He's talking about his 2 victories since he came to ECW. Albright says that he remembers watching the original ECW, and more than anything, he remembers the hard-hitting intensity of those guys who you'd see on ECW TV. That's what he wants to bring to the new ECW. As Albright continues to talk, Steve Corino walks in, cutting him off. He tells Brent that if you want to see what ECW is all about, he should watch him in the main event when he faces fellow original Stevie Richards. Corino says that he was impressed with Albright last week, but he's going to show him that he isn't on the level of the king of pro wrestling. A 36D-. I was again hoping for better. Corino doing well, improvising, Brent Albrighton struggling to keep up with him there. Again, we want to keep Brent Albright around these guys, Steve Corino, Al Snow, C.W. Anderson, these veterans who can help him. He's not doing too well so far. We're not going to give up hope just yet, but there is going to come a point where Brent Albrighton really needs to show sign of improvements. Before that first match, we get the entrance of Elijah Burke. Surprisingly, Johnny Swinger joins him. The commentators didn't know that he'd be here, so that's a surprise to them. Johnny Swinger comes to the ring and introduces the future of ECW, Elijah Burke. Burke comes down to the ring, joined by his girlfriend, Angel Williams, and 2 other guys who aren't really named. One of them is holding a bottle of water for him and a bucket. The other has his towel in his hand. We're trying to put over that he's quite a big star coming into ECW for us, that he was an accomplished boxer, and that as part of his contract negotiations, he wanted this entourage in with him. It's a 30 rating. It's not a particularly good segment, but it does put over Elijah Burke's gimmick. We finally go into that first match, and Elijah Burke defeats Justin Credible in 7 minutes and 29. Justin Credible tries to get his Singapore Cane involved, but Swinger is able to take that off him. This sort of distraction allows Elijah Burke to hit the Elijah Express, which is the double knees to the back, I think. Gets a 32E+, a 38 from Justin Credible, just a 33 from Elijah Burke. But again, I'm assuming that Justin Credible is going to be having problems with his... Oh no, I was really So he wasn't drunk and on drugs today, so maybe we can give him a second chance. Elijah Burke stands tall following his decisive debut victory. He's joined in the ring by Angel Williams and Johnny Swinger. The 2 guys who are at ringside aren't permitted to enter the ring, and they head to the back carrying his jacket and all his stuff. They're just his luggage boys, basically. We'll then get a promo from Rob Van Dam, who puts over the Originals v New Breed episode next week. He's talking about his match against one of those members of the Revolution. He says that like Tommy and Sandman, he's out for revenge, but he's also looking at the bigger picture. Winning next week not only eliminates one of the other members of that group from the title picture, but takes him one step closer to become the ECW World Champion. To a C-58 there, doing a masterful job of improvising. I think he's probably been the best ratings guy for us so far. I think he got an 82, or was it a 78 individual in-ring performance in that main event in the first week. CM Punk's like the level below, but other than them two, nobody has really been on that level so far. We need to bring some people up to that level very quickly. Again, doing wonders for that main storyline that we've got going. Speaking of CM Punk, his second match in ECW, he picks up a victory over Danny Doring in 8 minutes and 7 seconds. He wins via the Anaconda Vice. Shelly Martinez tries to get involved, but her interference is botched. CM Punk is able to pick up a victory, getting a 70 in ring rating compared to Danny Doring's 33. So again, it's showing that there is two very different levels of standards going on in ECW, but it is a 55 C-, so that is a very good match. Probably going to be better than our main event, I'd expect. After the match, CM Punk celebrates in the ring, having picked up his second win in ECW. Something I forgot to mention in the match, actually. Danny Doring was mocking the straight edge lifestyle. Not only did he do it throughout the match, but according to Taz, he's been doing it with the boys in the locker room, laughing at CM Punk because he doesn't drink or smoke or take drugs. As CM Punk stands tall, having defeated Doring, Homicide and Sonny Siaki come out from the back. When they enter the ring, Homicide offers his hand to CM Punk, seemingly offering him a place in that Revolution. CM Punk looks at the hand and leaves the ring, rejecting the proposal. Homicide doesn't look happy as Punk heads to the back, Sonny Siaki and Homicide pondering their next move. We then get a promo from Paul Heyman, heavily promoting the fact that next week ECW CyberSlam will see all those members of the self-proclaimed Revolution face off against the core group of Originals. Heyman looks to remain neutral, but suggests that Homicide and Co may not be 100% sure of what they're getting themselves into by going against Tommy Dreamer and Co. The ECW Revolution will continue, and whoever spearheads that revolution and remains on track to become the ECW World Champion will become clear on next week's show. As Heyman continues, the Revolution walking on the promo, they've regrouped after the rejection from CM Punk. They mock Paul Heyman, saying that this ECW reunion isn't quite going to plan for the mad scientist. Homicide says that Heyman thought all those old timers could come back, they'd never missed a beat, they could take their places at the top of the card, and everybody else was just there to make up the numbers. But they'll soon realise that it's 2006 and the business has passed them by. The Revolution is going to run this company. As they say that, a smirk grows on Paul Heyman's face, telling the group that he'll see about that next week on CyberSlam when they face Dreamer, Sandman, Sabu and RVD. Continuing the storyline again, a 46D rating is all over the show because next week we are building to that special episode with 4 matches between those two groups. We then get a short vignette before the main event, promoting the arrival in ECW of one of the most exciting up-and-coming tag teams in the world today. Trent Acid and Johnny Cashmere are coming to ECW. That main event, Steve Corino v Stevie Richards. I wasn't so sure about this match because I know Stevie Richards was a bit of a comedy character in WWE, but he was quite, at times, pushed fairly well in the original ECW, so I thought that he would put in a better performance than 41. To be honest, Steve Corino's 51 is decent, but a 47D rating, similar to last week, it's a bit of a disappointment for the main event. It was a decent match in 30 minutes and 33, Steve Corino picking up the victory. Stevie Richards out of the Winners Club, Steve Corino still with his mind on the ECW Championship, as he shows standing tall to end the show. He wants to be the ECW World Champ. As the show goes off the air, the commentators promote a special episode of CyberSlam next week, the members of the Revolution facing the group of ECW Originals. So there's the episode, a 51D+, not too dissimilar to last week, although it does increase our popularity in 44 regions. None of that losing popularity like we had last week. This week felt very much like a building episode. Even that main event doesn't feel main event to me. But next week we're looking to build a huge episode, 4 matches, Originals versus those new breed revolutionaries. So really the hype was all to that next episode of CyberSlam, which should be coming, hopefully, very soon.